hey everyone, we've got a brand new sponsor.
BagsUnlimited.com.
BagsUnlimited.com has a huge catalog of vinyl supplies, from record sleeves to storage boxes to cardboard mailers, record bags, and more. Whether you're just starting your collection or you're already the biggest record shop in the state, you can buy your vinyl supplies direct at BagsUnlimited.com.
And now, on with the show. Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Hey everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 455 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for fans and collectors of vinyl records. And today, dear people, we are going to talk about one of the rarest, most desired punk singles, as well as an upcoming box set and tour that is celebrating that breakthrough record. Yes, we're talking about the Saints' I'm Stranded, recorded in 1976 in Brisbane, Australia. The single was self-financed, and some 500-ish copies were made, and the song captured the spirit and the frustration of the band, who were living under an extremely strict government in the state of Queensland, Australia. And kind of like a Hail Mary pass, the I'm Stranded record was sent out around the world trying to secure a record deal for the Saints, which miraculously worked. EMI London heard the record, secured the band to their label, and the rest of the album was completed, and thus began the rapid ascension of the Saints into the hearts and ears of music fans ever since. Now, fast forward to 2024, the Saints' original co-founder and songwriter Ed Kuepper has put together a band to tour Australia with a mix of surviving members and friends of the Saints, including Mark Arm of the band Mudhoney, who will be helming the vocals and stepping into the mighty shoes of original Saints vocalist Chris Bailey, who unfortunately passed in 2022. These Saints shows around Australia have started selling out almost immediately after the announcement, confirming the love and continued relevance of the Saints. And also coming out later in the year is a 4 LP box set of this first Saints album, I'm Stranded, which is also becoming slightly difficult to source online. Google up the Saints 4 LP I'm Stranded, and if your local shop is still taking pre-orders, I suggest you get yours in. So today we are very fortunate to be able to talk to both Ed Kuepper and Mark Arm all about the Saints, these upcoming gigs, the original 1976 single, the upcoming 4 LP box set, and lots more. Oh, and by the way, there is an extended version of this interview available only to our Patreon legends at patreon.com/vinylguide. It's also commercial free and high resolution up there, so please feel free to support our podcast at patreon.com/vinylguide and enjoy all those extras. Alrighty, with that, let's get into our conversation. Here's the Vinyl Guide interview with Ed Kuepper and Mark Arm, all about the Saints, 73 to 78. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very blessed today to have Mark Arm and Ed Kuepper with us today. We're going to be talking all about the Saints, 73 to 78. They're touring Australia in November, Adelaide, Castlemaine, Melbourne, Perth, Sydney, and then winding up in Brisbane. Most of the gigs are sold out, but if you're fortunate to live in an area where you may be able to get a ticket somewhere, fieldpresents.com will help you out. There's also a box set coming up, which we'll talk about. Gentlemen, it's very exciting, very surprising, I guess, pleasantly surprised. I'm a big fan of the Saints, the Aints, Mudhoney, and more. How did this co-joining of the forces occur?
It was an act of magic. It was sort of like it came together on the astral plane. I think it was preordained or something. I'm not 100% sure. We'd been sort of myself and Tim Pittman, my manager, had been kind of talking about doing something to coincide with the release of this box set, and I wanted it to be something quite different to the Aints going out, and I had this idea for the Saints 73, 78 for quite a while, and it was just a matter of sort of finding the right singer, and a mutual friend sort of said, why not Mark? And as soon as he said that, it was like, oh, fuck yeah, why not?
Yeah, Mark, I know Mudhoney just toured Australia, I think late last year. Is this kind of when it started, the plot started hatching? Did you guys connect while you were down under?
No,
we did not.
No.
I think the mutual friend you might be speaking of is someone that I hung out with for like a week after the tour.
Do we want to name this friend, or will they remain
No, he
anonymous?
has to remain nameless, otherwise he'll want a pay rise.
He knows who he is.
Here in Australia, the Saints are just so celebrated and so revered. And in the States, I'd be curious, Mark, what was your experience with the Saints? I don't think, Ed, you guys toured America when you were with the band. So, Mark, how did you discover the Saints, and what are your memories of becoming aware of the band?
I can't really pinpoint the exact moment, but I know it was in the very early 80s. I think Sire had high hopes for the Saints, and the first two records were readily available, alongside Raw Power in the cutout bin, which is unfortunate.
Well, it's not all bad news, because the cutout bin made it affordable.
Yeah. But I mean, that was it. It also made it accessible, and for sure amongst my friends and even the people I didn't really know well, like anytime you went to like a party of the people who were hanging out in the underground, it was like almost inevitable that one of the Saints records would be played that night. Did
Prehistoric Sounds get pressed in the U.S.? Was that distributed?
It did not. It did not. I didn't even know it existed in the early days because their information was hard to come by.
Yeah, I've got some copies here. I think some prick wrote on them. I can't.
But the value has just gone down the chute there.
One thing I've noticed, and to what Mark said, Sire, I think it seemed to me, I get the impression Sire was really pushing Eternally Yours, because I find so many copies that still have the promotional sticker on them. And I guess that leads me to believe that Sire was really trying to get some energy around the band. Is that your understanding, Ed, or did you?
No, not really. I mean, Seymour was interested, like he was enthusiastic initially. I'm not really sure what happened. Eternally Yours didn't do that well when it was released in the UK, and we were sort of already in the process of recording Prehistoric Sounds by the time Eternally Yours came out. And it was really hard to get any sort of information about if the records were going well anywhere. But Know Your Product, which was the single from Eternally Yours, which I think we all thought, well, here we go, we're going to be top of the pops again now. Didn't happen. It got bad reviews. It didn't really sell. And the tour that we did was kind of, I don't know, it was probably the least successful of our UK tours, and it ended up being our last one. So no, it was sort of everything happened so quickly. We're talking between the first album being recorded, or say the when we first recorded the single that kind of started us on this whole thing, and Prehistoric Sounds being released, that was sort of 2 years sort of thing. And there was a lot of, I don't know, there's just a lot of sort of, I guess, artistic development, personal sort of differences starting to come to the fore once we got out of Brisbane, and where the band was a very close knit kind of thing, going to a situation in London where everyone, well, suddenly your eyes are open, like, oh fuck, there's this whole other world. And I think everyone kind of just started changing and wanting to do things differently.
Okay.
So no, there wasn't a sense that Sire was sort of that much behind us. I mean, the reason you see those promo copies is because people just dump them. I never got a sense that it kind of really connected beyond like people with tremendous taste and exquisite aesthetics, that sort of.
That was always my assumption, because I've always seen so many promo copies that I always assumed that the label was trying to build excitement, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it seems like I the same experience. Like you just see it, like the promo copies in the record stores, and it did seem like they were probably trying to push it and sending it out to writers and radio stations.
100%.
But the American audience wasn't. I mean, late 70s America music, terrible.
You're not a fan of Casey and the Sunshine Band, Mark?
I actually appreciate them now more than I did at the time.
We were talking a little bit ago. We'll go back a little bit here. The Fatal Records version of I'm Stranded. And making this record originally, when you guys decided to make a record, did you know that these are the two songs you want? Did you have a bunch of songs you culled down to No Time and I'm Stranded? Or, what was the reasoning to record these two?
We had a lot of songs, but what we did was we had a small but dedicated sort of group of followers, and we did a poll and just asked everyone to say which Saints song you think should be a single, and A Stranded in No Time kind of won the vote.
Okay.
We were, very, very commercially oriented.
So I would assume that a lot of the songs that are on the debut album were part of that group that you were asking about or considering. Yeah. Was it very clear that Stranded and No Time were way up there, or was it a potential?
I think Stranded in particular was a really popular song. A lot of our fans also liked, pop music, I guess, like Slade and various things like that. And I think Stranded kind of had a kind of a catchiness, maybe, that, it had a memorable title anyway. So it's what we went with, and I think it was. Whether something else would have been an even better choice, I don't know.
It'd be hard to imagine a better choice.
If we had recorded Nights in Venice or something like that, it would have been a really different kind of thing. And yet, Nights in Venice is just as representative of anything we were doing then. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is, and it did a lot.
So you guys decided you're going to do a single. You knew what songs you were going to do. The band, I assume, pooled together the money to be able to, it's going to cost X amount of dollars, so everyone pitched in what they could. Mm-hmm. What do you recall about the recording session itself?
It went smoothly, given that we hadn't been in a studio before and didn't even really sort of understand the most basic aspects of what happens. My dad had recorded the band in the garage once, but he had a little tape deck, and he had to put cushions over his microphones because he had no kind of control over the amount of volume that was hitting the speakers. So, we'd used a mono cassette deck to record the band in the garage. But apart from sort of, turning on the record button, there was no real sense of microphone placement or anything like that. So it went really well. The guy that was the house engineer at Sunshine Studios was fairly experienced. He played in a progressive rock band called Railroad Gin, and he'd been around for a long time. I didn't know some of this stuff about him at the time, which is probably just as well. But no, he was good. He was really good. He was helpful. He even lent me an amp which was better than the one that I had. It went smoothly. It took about 5 hours to maybe 5.5 hours to set up, record, and mix the two songs. And at the end of it, I think we were just all over the moon. You know, it was a really exciting kind of process. It's sort of one thing to kind of, you know, be playing in the garage or putting on shows at community halls kind of thing. Another thing, you know, it kind of made us real in a way to have the record, or just to actually hear ourselves back on high quality monitors as opposed to some shitty little tape deck.
Did you guys record it live? Were there many overdubs? Were Chris's vocals overdubbed, or?
Double tracked in the choruses, and I double tracked the guitar. Mm-hmm. So there's like two rhythm guitars on Stranded, and there's two rhythm guitars and a little lead, famous, you know, 2-note lead break kind of thing. Yeah, so yeah, there was overdubbing. I think one of the things that you experience when you're playing a song live is very hard to capture on tape. So the first thing that, you know, we heard it back with the one guitar, and it just didn't sound the way it did when I was actually playing it, because when you're playing it, you've got the vibration of, you know, it's a physical kind of interaction between your body and the guitar, that kind of thing. It's more enveloping in some ways than when you hear it back in the sort of more analytical playback thing. So it to me, it needed, you know, like I wasn't hearing all the guitar sound around the actual single thing on with just using the one track kind of thing. So it needed something else in there, I thought, and I think that's right. Though it was the engineer's suggestion that I do the lead break on No Time, which wasn't originally part of it.
Okay, so that was a decision made in the studio right there and then, a change. Okay. Now, as I understand, once it got mixed down to a tape that you guys were going to be taking to a record pressing plant, there was a revisitation of that. The story goes, legend has it, and I don't know if this is true or not, that the band took the tape back, heard it, thought the drums were too hot, and then brought it back to the studio for another quick remix, which became the final mix. Is that your recollection?
No, that's not the case. It was never remixed.
Okay.
There was one mix done on the night of the recording, and that's the only mix of Stranded in No Time.
Got it. Okay. All right. And
that's consistent across all releases. It's the same mix. Some have been faded, you know, there's all sorts of variations of it, but it's essentially the same mix.
Mm-hmm. And that master tape and the multitracks, of course, I mean, those were probably erased the next day, but the master tape has been lost to time, I believe.
Been lost to Power Exchange London.
All right. Any UK listeners, please feel free to go dumpster diving and try to find that master tape if you can. So every recording, every version of I'm Stranded we hear since that initial single, since the Power Exchange single, has been a needle drop from a record. Is that right?
Trying to think if there is an exception to that. No, it generally a needle drop off a mint condition Fatal single. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Once you sent away for those records, you got the master tape, you got the band's money together, you sent it off, I think, to Astor Pressing to get it.
Yeah, I took it into Astor. I used to work there, and I sort of knew that they did custom pressings, and so I just took the tape into their Brisbane office, and I wasn't working there anymore. But yeah, it was cut and pressed in Melbourne at their pressing plant.
So a few weeks later, you got boxes arrived. Did you get test pressings? Did they send you a couple just to see, is this right? Or did you just get all 500 something?
We just got them. We just got them. That was the first time I heard it was a finished product, and my girlfriend and I went in to pick them up, and took them home, put it on, played it about 10 times. None of us had a phone at that time, so we then had to drive around to everyone's place and give them their record or play them the record sort of thing. That was sort of the way everyone got to hear it.
So there was 530. Is that the number? Something
in that vicinity. I don't have an exact number, but yeah,
okay.
a bit over 500. Yeah,
a bit over 500. So is it safe to assume that each member of the band got a handful of them, and then 400 something were for sending out to press and to try to make something of the record?
I'm not sure how many people took handfuls. I mean, I kept a box because I was sending them out. Just sent them out and waited for reviews and orders to sort of come in, basically. I guess not really knowing what to expect. I think for the first couple of months, it looked like we probably overpressed. I think we probably sold about 50 or something like that.
You're like, what the hell are we going to do with these boxes of records?
It changed very quickly. Once the sort of really over-the-top reviews started coming in from the UK, everything just changed overnight.
Okay. And how long into it was that? Was it a couple of months?
Yeah, I think we, according to the receipt that I found where I collected, which was the 2nd of April, not 2nd of April, 2nd of August, I think our first review came in about 6 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
The Australian review and the Melody Maker review came out at the same time, though we didn't see the Melody Maker review immediately, of course, because it took so long, before the press kind of got over here. But we started getting telegrams to my parents' address because we were using my parents' address as our headquarters because Mum and Dad had a phone, and they were sort of fairly reliable as to actually be at a particular location, so it was a safe delivery address. But I didn't go there all that often. I'd sort of pop over on the weekend. So the first weekend after this sort of deluge of telegrams and stuff, I went around with my girlfriend to Mum and Dad's for Sunday lunch or something, and there were all these telegrams and letters and correspondence from international record companies. It was just it was a bit of a blast.
That must have been a head spin. Like you're in Brisbane, you're quite remote, especially in those days. You do this record, it's like a message in a bottle you kind of throw out into the world, and then all of a sudden you find you're getting correspondence from London and other parts of the world. That must have been quite a surreal experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had no idea of what to expect really, and so yeah, it was exciting. It was also sort of vindicating in a lot of ways, because the band wasn't particularly well liked, or I mean, we couldn't get shows. No, we were either banned or just blacklisted by any agency sort of thing. So suddenly there was this, it was sort of, well, haha, fuck you.
And Mark, I know you're sitting there very patiently. Do you have any questions about this? I know you're a bit of a record nerd as well.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying hearing this. This is amazing.
Well, the theme of I'm Stranded, it seems so appropriate, especially back then with Brisbane. And I imagine it wasn't lost on you and your colleagues in the Pacific Northwest around that time when you're hearing about this. It seems to be a really good theme for isolation and frustration.
Yeah, except we didn't have a train to ride.
But you had a phone. So going through this box set, okay, you got a 4 LP box set of I'm Stranded, and the album. You know, we talked a little bit about after the single came out, and you obviously made the album. Was there many recordings or things in the development of this box set that you discovered that may not have been heard or thought of for 45 plus years?
No, when we went into the box set, I had a pretty good idea of what was going to be included, and I knew what we had. So no, there were no surprises in that respect.
Okay. There were outtakes, false start, none of that existed, or nothing worth sharing?
No, well, we didn't spend that much time in the studio. I mean, if there were outtakes, I haven't heard them, sort of thing. So, and I don't think there was very much. Mm-hmm. If anything, I think we tended to go for a take, and if it was the take and we sort of all agreed on it, then that would be it, sort of thing. We didn't try different approaches on anything. For me, the really interesting thing were the rejected mixes, the mixes that Rod Coe did, because when we went in to record the album, it was, from EMI's point of view, it was a demo. And when we finished the session, we had 2 days, we had a weekend to record this demo. And at the end of it, the band just all said, well, that's the album, we're not going to be able to do it any better than that, sort of thing. And Rod Coe, the EMI house producer who was sort of supervising the demo session, took the tapes and did a mix, which we got test pressings for. And I didn't like the mix because it didn't represent what I was actually hearing, how I heard the band, I suppose. And so Chris and I went and remixed it. Chris made he thought the vocals were too dry, so there's more reverb on the band mix. The guitars are a bit louder and they're more centered. On the original mix, everything was kind of separated more. So where there's guitar overdubs, there's one in the left channel, one in the right channel. The vocals are drier. The drums and bass are probably clearer. I wouldn't say that they're sort of like over the top or anything like that, but they're probably a bit clearer than on the mix that Chris and I did. But, the mix that we did was that was kind of the way that we heard the band, whereas the mix that Rod Coe did was maybe more conventional as to how you would mix a band that has, 2 guitars, at least in the studio, kind of thing. And it's kind of historically interesting. And I've always been someone that with a handful of records, admittedly, but if a record that I really, really love and had some sort of significant influence on me at some stage comes out with alternate mixes, sort of thing, I'm interested to hear that stuff. So I guess for people that are similar, the alternate mixes will be just interesting. I think we probably made the right decision as a band to remix it, but the alternate mixes sound pretty good too.
Not long ago, something similar happened with Stooges and the John Cale mix, the first record. So I'm kind of imagining it's the same performances, just a different perspective on them.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'm not sure if I've actually heard that. That's the first album, is it? Yeah, I'm sure I haven't heard that, but I would guess that it would be something similar.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
So the version of I'm Stranded on the album, it's still the same performance that you did in Brisbane.
Yeah.
In no time, you recorded the other 6 or 8 songs, and you recorded in Sydney.
No. We recorded it in Brisbane. The album was recorded in the same studio, different engineer, as we did the single. Both recorded at a place called Bruce Windows Studios and sometimes called Sunshine Studios. The same thing. I don't know why they functioned under different names.
Okay. But you kept the master tapes and hopefully the multitracks of those sessions. Is that right? Hey there, audiophiles. If you're seeking stylish furniture to showcase your stereo and record collection, well, look no further than SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Sidetracked Workshop designs extraordinarily elegant record cabinets and consoles that add sophistication and panache to your music hobby. Handcrafted in the good old USA in the vinyl-loving city of Portland, Oregon, Sidetracked Workshop's designs are a music lover's dream. Made with real walnut veneered wood and brass accents, these gorgeous designs add class and taste to the record room and ship fully assembled and ready to enjoy. Just check out the designs for yourself at SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Look, you spend thousands of dollars on records. Don't keep them in a crate, and don't risk your records on those feeble wooden pegs from IKEA. Your music deserves the dignity of Sidetracked Workshop. That's SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Elegant solutions for the vinyl lifestyle. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to groovewasher.com and use discount code VinylGuide10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's groovewasher.com, discount code VinylGuide10. You kept the master tapes and hopefully the multitracks of those sessions. Is that right?
EMI did. So they still exist, yeah. But we didn't remix for this box set.
Okay.
It's something that kind of occurred to me, and then I thought, this is a bit of a rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
Might be interesting, but I hated that remix that Iggy did of Raw Power, and like what do you the record is what it is. It's sort of like I think the alternate mixes are interesting because they come from that time. To sort of go back to it now and try and remix it, I don't know. I mean, I actually think it'd be fun to try, but whether it would achieve anything useful, I don't know.
I was just talking to the Red Cross guys about something very similar. You guys have seen the Peter Jackson Get Back, right? And where they use software to peel apart the different tracks. Mm-hmm. Like they can now isolate drums and isolate guitars that were previously all bounced together. And we were talking about there's the possibility of a new Raw Power mix where you could now separate those instruments.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got the tapes, haven't they? I mean, they could just go back to the tapes and do it. I mean, I'm not a fan of endless Beatles remixes either, but I think the Peter Jackson film is really good, really interesting, even though I haven't got through the whole thing, but it takes effort. I think if funny, isn't it? I mean, it actually gets boring seeing, the group that was responsible for making me want to play guitar, watching them work out songs. You have to think,
watching them drink tea.
This is just my fucking life. I don't need to watch it.
I guess the point is we could take that same technology and point it towards I'm Stranded to finally peel it apart, to be able to
Well, you could, but would what you find be worth it. The tapes for the other songs on the album exist. The multitracks still exist, so it is possible to do a remix. And I don't know if EMI pay for the studio time and pay me to do it, I'd actually be quite happy to give it a shot, just to see what would actually come of it. But I wouldn't want to fund it myself, kind of thing.
Did you get any pushback from EMI for like choosing the less commercial version mix, like the more aggressive mix?
No, weirdly enough. I mean, probably because, we had sort of proven ourselves, I suppose, because the single got such a good response. We were given that sort of autonomy. They didn't have a clue.
That was going to be my next statement. They probably didn't know what was going on.
No. I mean, we weren't like a band that EMI took to. The EMI Australia was sort of told that they should sign us from head office in the UK, sort of thing. So, we were totally out of sync with what EMI Australia was trying to present to the world. It was, for them, it was the Little River Band, something sophisticated that would kind of work on the US West Coast. That was, you went into EMI and it was sort of plastic palm trees and people in Hawaiian shirts and at the time that wasn't, some sort of retro grooviness. That was just sort of their attempt to be, I don't know. I mean, there was just this scene in the music industry in Australia at that time, which probably wasn't that different to, what it was in the US. And that was the market they were going for. And they had, the Saints just sort of took them completely by surprise. They had no idea. They didn't like it, but they'd been told to. And, if the UK head office says frog, the Sydney office would jump, kind of thing. So yeah, there was no pushback at all that I can recall. I mean, Rod might have been a little miffed, but
I like that the engineer who did the single, the guy from the prog band, seemed open to it.
Well,
instead of going like, "Oh, what is this crap?"
It was a remarkably good bit of luck with Mark Moffat was his name, and he was a really open-minded. I think he was a bit bemused by us, and he did, kind of say that it's not the sort of thing that the studio where he's working at would sort of pride themselves on, but he was really good to work with.
So, Mark, you're stepping into this role. It's big shoes to fill on Australian soil. A lot of excitement around these live shows. How are you feeling about it? Do you have any concerns? Any songs you're looking forward to performing?
Of course there are concerns. I don't want to disappoint anybody. Some of the lyrics are overwhelming and some of them are simple. So it kind of depends on which song you're talking about. There isn't I don't have a hierarchy of preferred songs. I'm just happy to learn them all. That Ed has given me the list of not all.
In the box set, you've got the original mix, you've got the other mix that was rejected, you've got a gig from Paddington Town Hall.
Yeah.
Tell me about those tapes. Have those been treated any differently or improved?
Well, it's the best that you'll hear the Paddington Town Hall show. That wasn't available to remix or anything. That is just a stereo live mix that we got from the person that filmed the night, and so that's all that's available. There's also, it's 18 minutes long, so I think it's 5 songs or something. They're would obviously have been more in the set. We would have played, I don't know, at least an hour or something. So I'm not sure what happened to if the other stuff was even recorded, kind of things. But those 5 songs are on there, and for the first time, officially anyway, it may have been bootlegged. I'm not sure. There's also the complete Hope and Anchor live show. For the first time, I know that has been bootlegged, but this is the first time it's come out officially, and it sounds better than the bootlegs.
Does it contain? There's a notorious comment that Chris made playing with Radio Birdman that night. Is that part of the set? Is that even the same?
Yeah, that's on the Paddington Town Hall show that we did with them. Yeah, that comment is there.
It's on YouTube.
Was there a bit of a rivalry with Radio Birdman at the time?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we were competitive, but I don't think that there was any sort of outright hostility or anything. I mean, Chris used to, put shit on everybody, so it was just par for the course. I mean, if you sort of pay close attention to the performance, I usually just cut him off. I start a song whenever he's about to kind of go into an even more insulting ramble or something. And that's on the live at the Hope and Anchor thing too. He starts something and then I just start playing or count the song in or something. And just, only so much you can stand.
Were these reissues considered or underway before Chris passed?
Yeah, we had been talking about this. We actually had probably the most friendly conversations that we'd had for quite a long time. It was during COVID. The planning for this box set had been going on for quite a long time. I can't remember if we were going for like the 45th anniversary. We're now up to the 51st anniversary of, whatever number we're up to. Once again, Tim Pittman had started like acting as my manager, but had also kind of contacted the other band members just to try and make some sense of the shithouse deal that we were being held to, where we were just getting fuck all from these records, no statements, nothing, and surprisingly Chris was cooperative, because it sometimes sort of had issues with anything pertaining to these early records, and but no, it was actually good, to the point where I remember saying to my wife, gee, I wonder if he's dying. I don't want that to be sounding overly bleak or anything, but I was surprised at his change.
Okay, you sensed there
was something.
An openness to reflect, or something.
Yeah. There was a different, just overall tone. To I mean, I would have had to have gone back to when we were still in, when the original band was still going, before we kind of started to drift apart, musically and personally probably, but it was actually sort of they've even pleasant conversations, which I wouldn't often describe the conversations Chris and I had over several decades as particularly pleasant.
Okay. Well, it's nice to know that you had at least a bit of pleasant potential closure there.
I wouldn't say closure, but there was something was sort of in the works.
Okay. With the tour, you've got obviously yourself and Mark, which again, I can't think of a better person to get up there and stand in those shoes and to give a great performance, and really with the appreciation of the music than you, Mark.
Yeah.
So
I think all that factored into it, and I'm looking forward to it immensely.
You got Ivor Hay back.
Yeah.
Peter from Sunny Boys, Mick, obviously from Birthday Party, Nick Cave. Have you kept in contact with Kim Bradshaw at all?
Not that much. Kim was on board for the box set and the sort of improvement in royalties, but beyond that, no.
Okay. And I noticed the gigs, they're going around Australia in November and they're concluding in Brisbane. Has there been any thoughts, any plans to potentially go outside of Australia? Hey there, all you record nerds. I want to tell you about BagsUnlimited.com. BagsUnlimited.com has a huge selection of vinyl record supplies. Whether you collect LPs, 7-inch singles, 78 shellacs, or anything in between, BagsUnlimited.com will sort you out. From polyline sleeves to cardboard record mailers to 7-inch storage boxes and archive quality record sleeves, protect your records of any size and shape at BagsUnlimited.com. Whether you have a small personal record collection or you're running a massive record shop, you can grab a small supply or even buy in bulk at BagsUnlimited.com. And they've got some really incredible, unique stuff. BagsUnlimited.com even has special size sleeves made especially to protect your box sets, storage boxes and sleeves for cassette tapes, protective supplies for reel-to-reel, and yes, even 8-tracks. Just go to BagsUnlimited.com, click on audio supplies, and prepare to be impressed by all the options they have. That's BagsUnlimited.com. I noticed the gigs, they're going around Australia in November and they're concluding in Brisbane. Has there been any thoughts, any plans to potentially go outside of Australia?
Well, I haven't auditioned yet.
It's weird. The whole thing kind of. I mean, we did a relatively modest announcement, 7 shows or something, and a couple of them sold out. On the day of release, a day of announcement, and so we put in a couple of extra shows. There have been inquiries from overseas, which is unusual. And really interesting. So, I mean, I'd love to. I have no idea how this would work outside of Australia. Whether there's enough people that remember the band, I have no idea.
I would imagine that this is an opportunity to almost correct history, to even do some shows in the U.S. in the proper form.
It'd be a funny thing to happen after all this time. It'd be great, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't played that much in the States. I've done a few shows here and there, sort of thing, and I did a tour when I was playing in the Bad Seeds. That was the most extensive tour that I'd ever done at the US, sort of thing, and I enjoyed it a lot. But I've hardly sort of spent any time over there at all.
Oh, Radio Birdman's doing a similar thing. They're concluding. They're doing what may appear to be final shows this weekend in Sydney. So maybe there's the possibility of that rivalry again. You can get on stage and they can get teased again if you want.
Yeah, I've got some good lines for you, Mark.
Now, Mark, are you just going to be singing, or is it the possibility there's going to be some opportunities for 3 guitars on certain tracks?
Oh God, no. And I can't whistle either, so yeah, it's probably just going to be singing.
No trumpet for Know Your Product, nothing like that. Yeah.
Oh, we've got a dedicated horn section for that sort of work.
No doubt you've seen the Hard-Ons version of Know Your Product that they did at the Arias a couple years back.
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. It's funny the way they played it. If they had gotten in touch with me, I would have given them some information that would have made their lives a lot easier. But they didn't, so, that's tough.
So, guys, I appreciate you taking the time. And Mark, I know I focused a lot on the record nerd elements here with Ed, so apologies for not having as many questions to loop you into, mate.
I'm just happy to be here and to hear this, to see Ed face to face.
Yeah, so you guys haven't been in the same room together, have you?
No, we haven't met. Except,
I was at the Bad Seeds show in Seattle that Ed played, so I was in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
What was that, 1989? Yeah, that counts.
Right.
Okay.
I knew there was some connection there.
Well, look, Mark, I'd love to have you on at another time. We'll do a little bit more of a record deep dive into you and your career as well, mate. But we're just so excited here, and especially in Australia for this tour, this box set. The pictures also, just from the I'm Stranded sessions, we've always seen that picture of the four of you on, in front of the fireplace. And now we're seeing all sorts of other imagery from, I can think, similar photo sessions.
Yeah, well, I'd like one thing I should probably mention on the cover there, that the release cover was not something that the band had any involvement in, apart from, that came out. I wasn't even in Sydney when that was sort of finished. It wasn't what we wanted as a cover. It looks weird. They've used some sort of a strange, the shapes are all wrong. I look like, I'm Chris's kid sidekick or something.
Oh, the original cover. You guys were totally surprised.
Yeah, we never wanted that. Kim looks stretched. Chris looks taller than me. It's a really strange photographic effect, which, I would never have fucking approved that cover. It's awful. But what we do have in the box set are the photos from the session that the band actually wanted to use, and the album was also meant to be called Erotic Neurotics. EMI talked us into calling it I'm Stranded because we'd sell more records.
Okay.
So we were bought out and regretted it. I still think Erotic Neurotics with the cover that the band wanted would have been a much stronger kind of visual to go with the album. So in the box set, we do have what was to be the original cover and the original back cover. So,
man, I can't wait to get this. That sounds amazing.
I think even if you're not interested in the music, if you think I've got all that on CD and I don't like alternate mixes, I think the booklet that comes with the box set is kind of worth it.
To me, that's the joy of these box sets. I mean, the music is there, and a lot of times it's music I've heard many times before, but the booklet, the history, the pictures. There's that picture, that very famous picture of Saints playing Melbourne with a young Nick Cave looking on. What do you recall about that photo or that particular show or moment?
The first time I saw that photo was when Nick showed it to me.
Okay.
He carried it around with him. He had it in his wallet. It brings back memories of that tour. I mean, the photo of the Leon, the shirtless roadie that we had, he was this guy that only ever wore a pair of shorts and thongs, irrespective of the weather. Leon would just turn up in these stubby shorts and thongs and do his work. He's in that photograph too. Leon is the thing that I remember the most. It's a great photograph.
There's one thing I heard about the location where the Saints I'm Stranded cover came from, and it was a house in Paddington, Sydney, and for years afterward, people would go to that house, find that location where it still said the Saints, I'm stranded, the Saints, and take pictures. It was almost kind of like it was a spot that people sought out before they tore the house down in the 80s. Were you aware of that?
No, the house was in Brisbane.
Oh, okay.
It was a terrace house on Petrie Terrace. It's not the place that we had further down the road in Petrie Terrace. That was Club 76. This was a quite elegant old terrace which was run down, that was just deserted, a row of terraces that was deserted, and we went in there for a photo session, and I wrote the I'm stranded graffiti over the existing fireplace. And yeah, I did hear that bands would go there, and in fact somebody apparently removed the plaster with the graffiti on it. I don't know where that is, but yeah, I'm aware that it became a bit of a location. It went on to become a expensive restaurant after that. It got restored. I mean, it's all prime real estate these days, sort of thing. So
okay,
yeah, it was in Brisbane.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay,
the building is still there.
Okay, so it was in Brisbane, and someone carted off a chunk of the wall like they do with a Banksy. Apparently, yeah. I'd love to find out where that's at these days. And that's your handwriting that's essentially created the logo for this that's still being celebrated some 50 years later.
Yeah. Well, paintbrush writing, graffiti writing.
Yeah. Okay. Ed, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the Vinyl Guide and indulging me in the record nerd questions that we have and the audience loves. I want to remind folks, especially those of you in Australia, the Saints 73 to 78 shows are on sale. The tour is in November. Adelaide, Castlemaine, Melbourne, Perth, Sydney, Brisbane, potentially other spots. We'll cross our fingers and hope that more are announced. And the 4 LP I'm Stranded box set is pre-orderable now. It's selling out in a lot of places. It's actually very difficult to find a shop that still has their allocated stock able to be ordered. So if you find it, pre-order it, lock it in, because this is going to be a very difficult box set to get, especially heading into the holidays. And Ed, Mark, thank you so much again, and best of luck on your tour, and we look forward to hearing more noise from the both of you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Nick.
Absolute legends, both of those guys. And again, I apologize to Mark off air about not having as many questions for him, but both he and I were equally fascinated with the stories Ed was telling, and we wanted to hear about the legend of the Saints. Again, if you are in Australia, look out for the Saints 73 to 78. If by some chance any local shows still have tickets, grab them up, because they are destined to sell out. This is a highly anticipated set of shows. And of course, that 4 LP box set, again, is getting more and more difficult to pre-order every day. So grab one, get one in your queue while you can. And we look forward to seeing you in the pit or in the old man seats, whichever is most comfortable. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to everyone who is sharing these episodes on social media, putting them out on Instagram and Facebook, putting them in the Reddit forums and Facebook groups. That is hugely appreciated. And of course, those of you who are leaving positive reviews in Apple Podcasts and Spotify, that is super appreciated and humbling as well. We'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.